You see, we could talk about sacrifice or we could talk about privilege. Which is it to you? We look at what we give up. We look at what we sacrifice to get the message out. But folks, all we have to do is look to Calvary and look at what God did and what He sacrificed for you and I. He wants us to carry on with the gospel torch, keeps passing it on to the next generation. The second thing I saw in our passage was the torch of glorifying God on the earth. That's in verse 4. He said, I have glorified thee on the earth. I have finished the work which thou gavest me to do. You can't separate those two phrases in there. He's glorifying His Father by finishing the work. He said, I have glorified you on the earth. I have finished the work which thou gavest me to do. Now, this was not salvation and redemption. That came later when He said it is finished. And the price was paid on Calvary. This was the work that He had to do. And the work that He had to do was to train these disciples, to train these guys to be ready to go for the next generation. And that was the work that He entered into, that He talked to His Father so much about. Jesus said, no man having put his hand to the plow and looking back is fit for the kingdom of God. Sometimes we can get caught up in numbers to where we think that's what it's all about, but it's really not. Numbers will come if we leave that up to God. But we carry the torch of the gospel. We carry the torch of glorifying God by finishing the work that He's given us to do. But then the torch of unity, that's found in verse 21 through 23. He said that they may all be one as thou, Father, art in me and I in thee, that they may also be one in us, that the world may believe that thou hast sent me. How? By us being one. And the glory which thou gavest me, I've given them, that they may be one, even as we are. I and them, they and me, that they may be made perfect in one, and that the world may know that thou hast sent me, and hast loved them as thou hast loved me. This thing of unity, the preacher touched on it last Sunday or perhaps the Sunday before, but the idea of a church being in unity together. People start getting their fingers together. Individually, not a big impact. But you know what? I've got people that agree with me, and I'm going to get them together, and we're going to have our way no matter what you like or what you don't like. That's a pathetic situation, but I'm afraid that's the way we are. That's the way humans are. Maybe we can take heart and realize it didn't just start with us. It started about 2,000 years ago with Jesus and His disciples. For in Luke chapter 9, verse 53, it says, they did not receive Him because His face was as though He would go to Jerusalem. And when His disciples, James and John, saw this, they said, Lord, wilt thou that we command fire to come down from heaven, consume them, even as Elias did? But He turned and rebuked them and said, you know not what manner of spirit you are of. For the Son of Man has not come to destroy men's lives, but to save them. And they went to another village. Now, you would have to agree that there were two guys, James and John, were as close to Jesus as they could possibly get, right? I mean, they're walking and talking with Him every day. But when they saw somebody who did not receive Jesus the way they had received Jesus, perhaps even rejected Jesus, they wanted to call down fire from heaven. They wanted to lower the boom. They wanted to double up the fist. We can get them. Don't you want us to do that? Maybe there was just a little bit, I think there was a little bit of selfishness in there, a little bit of pride, a little bit of ego that James and John thought, hey, we could call down fire. It'd be cool. Man, people would remember us just like they remembered Elijah. Why don't you want us to do that? Jesus stopped the whole parade and He said, guys, you are of the wrong spirit. I didn't come to destroy people. I came to save them. Folks, there's a lot of churches out there, a lot of different belief systems, and I'm not talking doctrinal things. We got to stand for what's true and right doctrinally. But sometimes if we're not careful, we begin pointing the gun at each other. People that are on our same side. Now, I know there are those who have departed. I know there are those who have gone on to other things and done other things. So be it. God bless them. If they win somebody to Christ, that one soul will be worth it all. Maybe God put them in a position where they will have an opportunity to witness that person. But it's always baffled me why people get at such odds with each other when it's really about the gospel and it's really about getting the word out. But within a church, this church, could we agree or would we purpose in our hearts and minds to become one? at least be going the same direction, at least be following our leader, the pastor, whom God has appointed as the under shepherd of this place. And when he says to go a different direction, we go a different direction. When he says to stop and rest a while, we stop and rest a while. When he says we need to gear up and do more, we gear up and do more. It's called being one. But almost invariably what will happen is people say, I've done that, I'm tired. Or they say, well, that's something different. Or they will say, well, I don't like the way he's going in that direction. And we become these smorgasbord Christians who just kind of pick and choose what we do. I remember early on in ministry, I was a youth pastor in Trinity Baptist Church in Findlay, Ohio. And I remember the kids, we'd try to get the kids to go to these various activities and functions, and be it roller skating, bowling, back in those good old days, things that we did. We would try to get them to come. But I soon found out that what they were doing was they would pick and choose. If they liked bowling, they would go bowling. If they liked this activity, they would go to that activity. But if they didn't like this one, they wouldn't go. And I would try to encourage them and say, look, don't you realize some kids like to do this? Now, I know you don't like to do this, but come on over and encourage them. Be a part of it. Wouldn't it be sad if we walked in here today and there was absolutely nobody here? Do you realize just by your presence, you are honoring God? Just being here? Just being here is an encouragement to other people? Just being here is an encouragement to this preacher? I found when people found out I was preaching today, probably stayed at home. I don't know. The rain's coming. I guess I'll use that for an excuse. The guy met me in the aisle hall out back here. I've known him since the good old days back in Timken Roller Bearing. He found out I was preaching. He said, I won't be there. He's going to find something to do in the hallway somewhere. But be in unity. Now, I realize there's people got jobs everywhere throughout the building, but be in unity together, no matter who it is, no matter what's going on, that you'll be supporting the Lord's church. This is not an individual person's church. It's not your church. It belongs to Christ. And he prayed for us back then, just like he was praying for his other disciples. He said, Lord, I'm praying for them that will believe after me, that they will be one in spirit.